Hi everyone, this is Jeff.
And this is Russ.
When we first started Home on the RNG, we began it as a series of videos, and we produced quite a few before we realized it really works better as a podcast.
Whoops-a-doodle.
So we apologize if any of these early episodes have any visually heavy references that don't transfer to the audio medium.
Whoops-a-doodle.
Thanks for listening. Welcome back!
We are back.
Third time's a charm. We finally started the video successfully.
Yes. And we are here
to talk about
played an excellent game. An excellent JRPG.
We are here to talk about a game. Russ selected this game. Russ, what game did you select?
I selected Legend of Heroes, Trails in the Sky. First chapter.
Oh God. So, let's let Russ do his fangirl gushing so we can get down to an honest review. This is personal history.
So I obviously suggested this game because, like most of the games that we play, this is one that Jeff had never played or maybe even heard of before I suggested it. Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky is actually part of a long series of games under the title Legend of Heroes, but started a new iteration of the series. It's great. It was a Japanese PC game that was released in, I believe, 2004, and we got it in the United States, North America, in 2011 on the PSP, and then we had to wait 5 years for the second game. It has a long and complicated history that we'll probably get into in a different video, but I just love it. It is one of the most fully realized worlds that I've ever experienced in a JRPG, and there are so many characters, and they're so deep and complex, and I shouldn't spend all of my time right now just gushing about the game. So my own personal history with it is that I played it when it came out on the PSP like 7 years ago. I still have that PSP copy, but now I have it. It's available on Steam, so I recently replayed it on Steam so that I could do this review and refresh myself on it. So I will let Jeff talk now.
I know nothing about this game except Russ wouldn't shut up about it. But now, apparently, I'm learning that it's not the first game in the series, which means Russ has broken the rules of Home on the RNG, and I hereby cancel this review! Well, it was worth a shot. No, I don't know anything about the game. Russ just kept going on and on about it, so we played it! A young, impulsive girl and a foundling her father brought home years ago joined the Bracers, an organization dedicated to helping people and maintaining order in the world. As they travel the country, solving problems to achieve full Bracer status, they uncover a sinister plot against the throne and learn more about their father's mysterious past.
I like the use of the word foundling. You don't hear that enough.
Well, that's what he was.
He was a foundling. Yeah. Yeah, and I want to say first, too, that I'm really happy that I tricked you. I wasn't even intending to. I have never played any of the games under the Legend of Heroes umbrella.
This is not the first game in the series.
Before they started this, like... It's the first one that shares, like, the same world and the same characters. And I really have never played any of the other ones. Only a few of them got really, really, like, bad English limited releases.
And the next game we were going to play, you tried to skirt the rules again.
Oh, that's true, yeah. None of it's intentional.
Uh-huh.
Anyway,
Russ, tell us about the characters.
The characters are great. This is why I love the series. There are so many characters. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but just as an example, by the time you get to the third game in the Trails of the Sky series, you have 16 playable characters that all have fully real. I mean, it's like Final Fantasy 3/6, but all the characters have like way more complicated inner lives and personal lives and relationships with each other and with other non-playable characters. Every character in this game has a name.
That's true.
Every NPC that you talk to has a name.
There is no townsperson.
No.
It's Gary. It's
Right.
Samantha. It's Flavuva.
Right, exactly. Everybody has a name, and they all have their own, like, they have their own thing that they're going through. Because if you talk to the same townspeople after you clear different main story points in the game, their situation will have changed, and they'll tell you about their situation changing. Like, there's this one guy, and he's married, he's a newlywed, and he's married to this girl, and he lives with her father, and the father is a woodcutter, and he's training the son-in-law to be a woodcutter, but he's really disappointed in him, and he doesn't think that he has what it takes to be a woodcutter, but then the wife really believes in him. And then over the course of the story, the father starts to realize that he really does know what he's doing, and he has this really good business acumen that he can bring to the woodcutting business. And these are just 3 NPCs.
Yes, these are 3 people you could play the entire game without ever talking to.
You could never talk to them. But they have a whole story that spans the entire game, and that's just one NPC family.
In one city.
In one town, it's one NPC family.
There's a lot going on, is the point.
If you Google, I would recommend that anyone Google like Trails in the Sky script, and you can find, and they have a picture that Xseed Games localized the series, and they like published a picture of the book, of the script basically of the game, and they put it next to like a Final Fantasy game script or whatever, and it's like, here's the Final Fantasy script, and here's the Trails in the Sky script. Like, you can't even open and turn the pages because there's so much. Every NPC has so much unique dialogue that you can't. I really am just gushing.
This is true.
Right? Yeah.
It's fine.
And that's just the NPCs. I mean, the main characters. You get 8. There are 2 that stay with
characters.
You. There's Estelle and Joshua, who are the 2 16-year-old bracers.
And then your 3rd and 4th character slots are rotated out every chapter, basically.
Right, exactly. Like so the game, the structure of the story is that there are 5 regions in this kingdom that you live in, and Estelle and Joshua are these, rookie bracers, and they're exploring on foot each of the different regions in their kingdom. So each time you get to a new region, you meet new people that travel with them temporarily until you get to the end of the game. And then at the very end of the game, you get to pick like your favorite 2 of the other 6 that you met.
And apparently I chose poorly.
You didn't. Who did you choose?
Tita. I took Tita with me, which is apparently Tita. Apparently Tita's not that great.
Well, Tita.
But I liked her because she has... Her default attack is an area of effect.
Mm.
Her standard just pew-pew hits an area, and I'm like, yes, I want that.
Yeah. Tita gets better in the other games. I don't disrespect you choosing Tita. But yeah, there's Estelle and Joshua. They're your main characters. I like Agate. Agate is this redheaded 20-something swordsman. He is Cloud. He has a big buster sword.
And he's angsty.
And then there's Shara, who's like the older sister.
I think it's Shahara. I think it's short for Scheherazade.
It's Scheherazade.
Scheherazade.
Well, whatever. Anyway.
I almost have to be wrong because I never get names right.
I would think Scheherazade too, but I don't think it's that long.
Well, no, that's why she's just called Shahara.
Anyway, she's cool. She's kind of an alcoholic.
Kind of. She drinks all the other characters under the table.
And she reads tarot cards and she uses a whip. We mentioned Tita.
A whip?
A whip.
whip.
A whip.
Why are you pronouncing the H first?
Because that's what I do.
Okay.
Tita is an 11-year-old genius who uses like a little cannon. Who else is there? There's Chloe. Chloe is Sailor Mercury, basically.
Yes. I've never even seen Sailor Moon, and I can agree with that
Sailor
one.
Mercury. She has water-based attacks.
And then the blonde nobleman, the obnoxious one who's always...
Oh, Olivier.
Yeah,
he hits on everybody, regardless of gender or anything, and he pretends that he's a bard, but he's not a bard. I think that's a spoiler for the first game, though. And so it's an interesting cast, and they all have complex interpersonal relationships. Like Agate and Sheriff, for example, know each other from years ago, and they have this background, and I like all the foreshadowing that they do in the game. Like, not everybody plays their cards. I mean, it's a long series, so not everybody plays their cards.
It's a long game.
It is a very long game. And it's the shortest of any of the Trails games.
70 hours it took me. 70
And it's the shortest.
Hours. Most of the games that we play on this, since we're playing older JRPGs, are around 20. 20 to 30 hours.
Right.
70 hours. I just kept texting Russ, like, this game's never gonna end.
And you'll never want it to, because it's so good.
This game's never gonna end.
And the other thing I wanted to touch on with the characters is that they do villains very well too. So there's a large cast of villains, a lot of characters you don't even know are villains yet. Just learning about their motivations. And
does it do villains as good as Skies of Arcadia did villains?
I think they're about equal. I think because most of as we play along in the series, a lot of the villains get like redemption arcs. None of the villains are really like black and white, mustache twirling, evil bad guys. I could just go on and on, but
instead, we're gonna move on to the combat system because he could go on and on for the length of the script.
I could, yeah.
There is a lot here. The writing is really good. The story is really good, and the characters are really well realized. My long-suffering facial expressions are really dedicated towards Russ and not the game itself. His points are all accurate.
And the story, we didn't even really touch on the story. The story is, I think, told very well in the way that it escalates. It starts out with very basic, like, Estelle and Joshua go to a farm to fight off some... monsters for some local farmers.
It does what a good JRPG story should do, which is, in the beginning, it kind of sets out your goal. The story's going to have this arc. But as you travel along that arc, you start finding ties to a deeper story that runs through the whole thing. And by the time you get to the end, you look back and you realize everything you did was leading to this point, and it's all related.
Right.
That is the good way to write a story. Especially in an interactive medium, you want to have the player be able to look back and all the dots connect. And that's what this game does.
And they do here, yeah.
So, on to combat system. So, the combat system is laid out kind of on a grid. It's a little tactical in that sense, with different weapons having different ranges.
Right.
It's a little like how Lunar 1 was.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you can clearly see, okay, if I move my character here, their reach is this circle, this spell will hit this circle of area. There are 3 types of attacks. Mm-hmm. It is regular attacks, magic attacks, and skill attacks. Right? You also have CP, which is used to trigger your skills. CP is built up by dealing or taking damage, kind of like in Lufia 2.
Yes.
You can also use CP, if you build it up to enough level, to break turn order.
You can.
If somebody has 100 CP or more, at any point you can just be like, and it's their turn now to execute a super attack.
That's right.
The turn order is very visible. It is right there on the side of the screen the whole time. You can see exactly who's going to go next, when you're choosing to cast a spell, spells don't cast instantly, but you can see when it will trigger.
Right. And you need to follow that. It's very advantageous to follow that because you get bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
There are, I want to say, there are bonuses to Sepith. Sepith is a substance that you collect to like make new spells for yourself. You can trade it in for money. So like if you cut turn order, you can put that character in a spot where they'll get extra Sepith at the end of battle, or you can have them cut in to where they get a critical hit, or they get an increase in strength, or they get a little bit of magic recovery. So that's how you want to use the cut in. Occasionally
you might have a character whose special cut-in skill will disrupt spell casting. So you'll want to have them jump in right before the enemy gets off a spell. Just no more magic for you. I like having the turn order so incredibly visible. I wish more games did that. I was just thinking, we haven't played it yet, but one of the games we're going to play is Final Fantasy Tactics, which does tell you the turn order, but you got to go through like 3 menus to pull it up, and then you can see everybody's exact turn order.
This just has it right there
yeah,
on the
this
side.
does it right there on the screen. And even in Final Fantasy Tactics, that's unusual to actually get the turn order before somebody goes. Usually you have to kind of guess in most games.
Yeah.
So, yes. What else?
I am going to go against my nature and say the things that I don't like about the battle system.
Go ahead.
And the main thing that I don't like is you can't really grind, and I'm a grinder, and it's difficult to grind because as you level up, the experience you get from enemies scales with your level until you're only getting 1 experience point per enemy that you kill.
Wow.
There is one special type of enemy called a palm.
I never managed to kill one.
Did you never kill a palm? The only way to really kill a palm is to exploit the super skills and the cut-ins. You need to engage a palm when all of your characters have 200 max CP, so that they can all just cut in and use their special attacks. And then you instantly kill a palm, and they always give you tons of experience. So that's really the only way to grind, but it can be kind of frustrating because you have to build up your CP, you have to be all prepared beforehand. So I didn't really like that because I'm a person that grinds in RPGs just a little bit so that while I'm following the main story, the battles are easy. And it just doesn't really let you do that because you get to a point that you're only getting 1 experience. I didn't like that. And then and then the other thing that bothers me is on the area of attack spells and things, specifically with spells, some of them are like area of effect, and you don't focus them on an enemy, you just focus them on an area of the battlefield. Like when you're choosing to cast them, you don't pick an enemy.
Yeah.
You just pick this spot on the battlefield, and then all the enemies will get turns and they'll move out of your
But to be fair,
area.
It works the other way too.
Well, it does work
when
the other way,
enemy is
too.
going to cast an area of effect spell, it shows you, hey, this area is about to explode, and you have the opportunity to move.
Obviously, I love it when the enemies are doing it to me.
Oh.
But when I'm doing it to the enemies...
Oh, I see.
I'm not into that.
You don't want a fair fight.
I don't want a fair fight, no. I want to grind, so I'm a little bit too strong, and I want to have an advantage over the enemies. So, as much gushing as I do about the game, those are the 2 things that kind of frustrate me.
I was okay with both of those. I don't grind, and as long as the area of effect thing can benefit me, I'm fine with it occasionally benefiting the enemy, as long as it's fair.
I get it.
So, let's go ahead and move on to innovations.
Yay.
So, to kind of continue what Russ was talking about with the grinding, monsters in this game do not drop money, which can make grinding frustrating, especially earlier on in the game. What they do drop is this Sepith stuff. They're crystals. And you can turn those crystals in for money, but there are a lot of uses for these crystals, and you need a large number of them for the more advanced uses. So trading them in for money is kind of shooting yourself in the foot. So, especially earlier on, a standard grinding technique in any JRPG is to wander around the town fighting monsters until you're banged up enough, then go into town, spend money on an inn, go back out, do it again.
Right.
You can't really do that in the early stages of this because you will run out of money to go to the inn. Right. Unless you're willing to trade in your hard-won Sepith, which you need for other things.
You need them for your orbs.
Yes, which we'll talk about in just 1 second.
Okay.
We'll do orbs in a second, but the main way that you earn money is through side quests. That's the main way that money comes in. You perform tasks for the Bracer Guild, you get money. Now, onto what you're using all that Sepith for, which is the orb system. Russ, did you want to explain the orb system?
So the orb system is really twofold. It's the magic system, plus it's just ways to upgrade your character stats. So there are seven types of Sepith, and you use them to make these orbs. There's fire, water, air.
Now, your characters do level up like normal with stat increases. It doesn't happen that often, I found. The level gain is slower.
Because of the grinding and only getting 1 experience.
The orb system is an augmentation to leveling up, not a replacement of leveling up. Go ahead.
And so you buy the orbs, and the orbs will both teach you spells depending on basically the level of the orb. There's like 3 levels of the orbs. They'll teach you spells, and then they'll also adjust your stats. So like there's a fire orb that gives you more strength at the cost of less defense. There's an earth orb that just ups your defense. Time orbs can increase your speed or your movement. And so you want to save most of this precious Sepith that you get to make those orbs, because it gives you a really distinct advantage in battle. Even if you're not using that much magic, it can really up your stats to the point that especially boss battles and things, which can be pretty difficult.
It can also augment your attacks. It can give you a 20% chance to petrify, which was awesome.
I was gonna say once you get the petrify orb, that is
the petrify skill in this game is amazing.
Because you say 20%, but I felt like I was just petrifying every enemy.
It was at least 50-50.
Yeah.
And as soon as you petrify an enemy, they stay petrified for the rest of their combat, and the next attack that hits them kills them.
Right. Yeah.
So petrify is unbelievably powerful.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
But it's also, 20% chance to poison, to sleep. There's other passive abilities like can see enemies on the map further away.
Yeah, I always kept
invisible to enemies, which I always kept on. That way, every combat I got into, I did the surprise attack.
You want to get your surprise attacks. Even the random battles can be a little challenging if you're not, leveled up. So you want to get those surprise attacks.
And this game does do one of the things that I really like, which is the random encounters are visible monsters. You see the monster before you touch the monster, and that triggers the fight. And it also does, like the Earthbound mechanic of, if you sneak up behind the monster, your characters all get to go first. If the monster manages to touch your back, even if it didn't sneak up per se, but if it manages to touch the back of somebody in your party, they all get to go first, and they usually surround you.
Right. The enemy AI is very intelligent.
Yeah.
So they will kill you if given the opportunity.
Now, you also have to use Sepith not just to create the orbs, but each character has room for, 6 orbs?
There's 6, so each has a device called an orbment, and there are 6 slots. There are like 6 nodes in everybody's orbment. They're all laid out in different ways.
But they don't start out unlocked. You have to
you get
spend Sepith to unlock slots that you can then spend Sepith to make orbs to put in the slots.
Right. It's also what increases your MP.
Also, certain characters,
some characters, all of the characters except Estelle, your main character, have at least 2, I believe, nodes in their orbment that you can only.
Basically, they have an element of affinity.
Yes, you can only place one.
Like
element
Agate. Agate likes fire, so 2 of his 6 have to be fire-based orbs.
And Chloe, Sailor Mercury, likes water.
So 2 of the 6 have to be water-based.
Yeah.
Joseph
has
time.
Joshua. Joshua likes time.
Joshua does time.
Shara has wind. Tita has space. Only Estelle, your main character, doesn't have a restriction like that.
So this is why I mentioned earlier grinding for Sepith, but then not wanting to turn it into money. You need the Sepith to unlock the slots that you spend the Sepith to buy the particular orbs to put in the slots to augment the characters.
So you don't want to just be giving it away for cash.
Yeah, if at any point you sell Sepith for cash, you're probably playing the game wrong.
Right. But fortunately, there are a lot of side quests.
Plenty.
So it helps.
That's how I spent 70 hours. I did not complete every side quest, but I did most of them.
Some of them are well hidden. I know that, on the first playthrough that I did of it, I definitely didn't do all the side quests. Some of them are very well hidden, and it has by far the least. This game has the least amount of side quests.
I'm not a video game completionist. There's just too many games I want to play. But I do kind of give it my best shot whenever I'm playing through a game. I will do as many of the side quests as I reliably can. If one of them fails or I can't get to it, so be it, and I move on. But I do as many as I can. And that's how I clocked 70 hours in this game. It does one other thing that I like. Remember Great Greed?
I do remember Great Greed.
Do you remember what happened when you leveled up in Great Greed?
You were fully healed.
I love that mechanic. Although in this game, leveling up doesn't happen as often. Because it kind of counts on the orbs to augment you more than the leveling up.
Right.
So you can't count on leveling up in a dungeon to help heal you at a certain point. But I do always like the mechanic of leveling up gives you full health, full magic.
Mm-hmm. And again, I know we're getting ahead of our reviews too, but as a little side note, part of the reason that leveling up is so rare in this game is that as you go on and you play the second and third Trails in the Sky game, you retain your levels.
Interesting.
So once we play and review Trails in the Sky second chapter, you can move over all your data and your characters will have their levels. So the max level in the first game is, I think, 35. Then in the second game, if you don't carry over your data, you start at level 30. Or you carry over your data up to level 35, and then the max level is, I think, 70.
Wow.
And then by the third game, all of your characters are level 100-something and have 50,000 HP. So there is a reason. There's a reason that the leveling is...
Fair enough.
...is limited, which, to the criticism that I gave before, I do like the fact that it's kind of interwoven into the way the games work.
Yeah, it makes sense. Your characters are stronger.
Yeah, that you're intended by the third game to be like level 150.
It is nice that as you start out a second or a third game, your characters aren't back at level 1 because they didn't work out over the break.
Right.
Well, I can't. Oh yeah, I was trying to remember what video game did that excuse. That was one of the Neptunia games.
Oh, it was. Yes.
Like Neptunia 2. She's like, "Why am I level 1 again?" Yeah. Well, you've been sitting around watching TV for the last year.
Yeah.
Oh.
I remember. Yeah, they did do that.
Yeah.
Which is good. Which I like.
Did you have anything else for innovations?
No, I think that's no.
All right, then we're going to move on to music without Mike again. So, we've addressed this multiple times, and we'll address it many more times, I'm sure. Russ and I do not live in the same city. So we get together every couple of months and film multiple episodes. It's why you see us wearing the same shirts for several episodes in a row. So last time I said Mike wasn't with us because he's getting married this weekend. It is still the weekend that Mike is getting married. So he is still not here.
You should have just said that he's already gotten divorced and he's getting married again.
Since the last episode, Mike has gotten divorced, but did in fact meet the second woman of his dreams, and they are off on their honeymoon. He also won't be here for the next episode, but then he should be back after that, fingers crossed. So, with that in mind, I have asked Russ to talk some about the music of this game, since he loves it so much. I said, Russ, do some research, dig around, and Russ is going to give us a presentation worthy of Mike.
No, I am not.
It's going to be researched and nuanced. It's going to be great. I'm going to sit here and learn. Tell us about the music, Russ.
The music was good, if not unremarkable. Of everything that I love about the game, I just don't... The music doesn't 100% stand out to me. I did find, and there's not much to say about the composers either. I did look up the composers. We have Hayato Sonoda and Takahide Murayama and Wataru Ishibashi, who is dead. I found out.
I hate to find out.
He tragically died at the age of 39.
Wow.
So that's the most interesting fact I could find about any of the composers. All of them, the point being, all of them have specifically worked on Falcom games. Falcom is the publisher of the game, and if you look at all three of their composer credits, it's literally just Falcom games. So they're like an in-house, they're in-house composers. They've worked on a lot of Legend of Hero games and the Ys series, and Xanadu. I think one of them worked on Tokyo Xanadu. So
that's that movie with Bo
is,
Derek, right?
It is, but you're not. But there's an unrelated.
Oh, okay.
There's an unrelated game called Xanadu.
Oh, okay.
Or Fazanadu.
So it's not based on the movie.
No, it's not.
Oh, well, that's disappointing.
It's not. Yeah, there's a current. I think it's on the Vita game called Tokyo Xanadu. That's kind of like a poor man's Persona.
That's sad.
Yeah, and that's what they compose for. They're like in-house composers. So I mean, I think they do a fine job. But the music is, I feel, just standard of what you would find in a fantasy JRPG. It sets the mood well, but there's no track that stood out to me like, oh, this is amazing.
Fair enough.
So, and poor Ishibashi is dead.
That is sad. 39.
And apparently
we're almost there.
And that's why it's so sad. And he must have only died recently because he did do some composing work for a game in 2016.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Well, on that downer note, I guess we'll move on to final thoughts.
What I'm trying to say is come back, Mike, because this is not our area of expertise.
No, I liked when Mike was around, and I felt like we learned stuff and had an air of scholarliness. And
we did.
Man, this is sad. All right, final thoughts.
So, obviously, I've already gushed about this game enough. I give it an A+, and that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. Like I said in my intro, it's one of the most fully realized JRPG worlds that I've experienced. It's on the level of what, people that play D&D have been coming up with for years just in their imaginations, but it's like a bunch of video game developers got together and said, let's make a game that has that level of complexity. And so I love it. Except for the few things about the combat system. The combat system is my least favorite thing in the game. But I think part of that is just because the story and the characters are all so deep and complex, and everything is so well interwoven that I just kind of want to get the battles over with so that I can see what's going on with these characters. I know I've talked in some vlogs that we've done before about, I think when we were talking about our top 5 favorite RPGs, I talked about how I loved Persona 4 and I placed it at number 2, and it's because I feel like those characters are my high school friends. Like, I don't keep in touch with anybody from high school, and Persona 4 was fun in the way that it was like I was revisiting those days of hanging out with my real friends in high school, and I have kind of the same affection for the characters in this game. It doesn't specifically take place at a high school, and the characters there are a lot more of them, and they're a lot more varied, but they feel so much like real people to me. I care about them probably a little bit too much than any person should care about fictional characters, but I'm a nerd, and that's what I do. So, like I said, I give the game an A+, and I recommend that everyone play it. This is my bro, Chie. I do feel emotionally connected to her on a level that I feel like I should not be emotionally connected to a fictional character. And then this is Rise, who Jeff loves more than anything in the world. She's not my waifu of choice. My waifu of choice is Yukiko, but I still love Rise. But he just handed me these to reiterate my point that this is the kind of game that has characters that you can really grow emotionally invested in.
I'm just glad Russ worked Persona 4 into something. I've been doing a lot of eye rolling during this. Honestly, I give the game an A. My exasperation just comes from Russ's overly abundant love of a game. It's somewhat in my nature to be wary of anything that somebody else gushes about. I don't know why I'm that way. I just always have been. Somebody comes up to me and says, "Oh my God, this is the most amazing thing. You have to see this." I'm like, "Oh God, do I have to?" Probably because I know my fanaticism won't match theirs, and then it's going to be sad. I did like the game. I actually like the combat system more than Russ does, apparently. I enjoyed the combat system a lot. But I enjoy the more tactically based combat systems, which we've learned Russ doesn't. So, the characters were very fully realized. I like the game. I'm actually looking forward... Jesus Christ. I'm actually looking forward to playing the rest of this series. And now I'm never going to hear the end of this. Ugh. So Russ, if they want to play... No, if they want to play... this isn't Skies of Arcadia. If they want to play Legends of Heroes... If they want to play Legends of Heroes Trails in the Sky, Chapter 1, where do they go?
Your best bet is Steam. All of the Trails games that have been released in English are available on Steam.
Pretty reasonably priced.
Reasonably priced. The only other place that you can go to get this specific first game in the series is the PSP. But I would not recommend it in this sense. On the Steam version, they have actually gone back and they've corrected some translation stuff and the names of some items and things that they admit that they kind of messed up the translation on in the first game. So some of the characters actually have different names.
Oh.
And yeah.
Oh, I guess we should have warned people about that ahead of time.
So if you go out and you get the PSP version, then there's just going to be some translation differences that aren't going to be in sync with everything else in the series. Because this is the only one that is on the PSP.
Fair enough.
The second and third Trails in the Sky games are just on Steam. I mean, that's really what you have to do.
So there you go. If you want to play it, go ahead and go on Steam. For our next episode, it is our 20th episode. And like we did with our 10th episode, we are going to look back on the last 9 games that we played. I will say, this time we're not playing Name That Game. While it was fun, I enjoyed it. It went on for quite a while, and we also don't have a musical expert here with us, and we don't have the princess with us today to run the soundboard.
Right.
So it will just be Russ and I reviewing the last 9 games, talking about tropes, reliving memories, and stuff like that. So
I'll be crying a lot? Is that what you're saying? Reliving memories?
Memories.
Yeah.
I don't know the rest of the words, but it's something about memories.
You have the voice of an angel.
Of the way we were.
Yep.
Of the way we were. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Home on the RNG is a presentation of Mad Centaur Productions. You can find Jeff on youtube.com/Centaur Productions or on Twitter @JeffCentaur. You can find Russ on Twitter @RussMac25. Thank you for listening, and remember, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this podcast with you.
everybody!
Hi!
Welcome back!
I'm excited.
Isn't that the same shirt you wore last month?
It is. Yes, it's one of my favorite shirts. Who's your favorite Batman?
Michael Keaton.
Okay. Approved. If you'd said Ben Affleck, I would have killed you. I would have just murdered you right now. Okay.
Hi, everybody!
Hi.
Welcome back! That previous intro is just going to be in the bloopers. So watch after the video if you want to know why Russ is laughing.
I'm Luke Bryan. Hi. So just like almost every game that we play,
Just like the candle needs the flame. Like the candle needs the flame. Oh, yeah. That's what it's like to be me. Right there. That is what it feels like to be me. Now you know.